Hello girls and boys, hello mummies and daddies, hello grandmas, grandpas, brothers, sisters and anybody else who might be tuning in for our bedtime story. Well, today's Saturday and I've had quite a busy day. I wonder what you've been doing. Has your day been busy? Did you manage to have a little tea party with your toys, as that was our challenge on Facebook today? I've seen a few pictures and the tea parties that I have seen looked lots of fun. I hope your toys had a great time too. So, our story today is Mog the Forgetful Cat. Now, I don't know if you know this story, but I do know that at Haynes Lower School there's a teacher that we all know and love very much called Miss McCullion, who loves cats, and she rather loves Mog the cat too. So hopefully, if Miss McCullion is watching as well as all of you at home, she will enjoy this story. Now, this story, Mog the Forgetful Cat, was written by Judith Kerr. So let's find out about Mog the Forgetful Cat. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to the family. So we have in the family Debbie, Mr. Thomas, Mrs. Thomas, Nikki and Mog. Once there was a cat called Mog, and she lived with the family called Thomas. Debbie Thomas, Mr. Thomas, Mrs. Thomas, Nikki Thomas. Mog was nice, but not very clever. She didn't understand a lot of things. A lot of things she forgot. She was a very forgetful cat. Sometimes she ate her supper, and then she forgot she'd eaten it. Sometimes she thought of something in the middle of washing her leg, and then she forgot to wash the rest of it. Once she forgot that cats can't fly. She's falling out of the tree. But most of all, she forgot her cat flap. The cat flap led from the kitchen into the garden. Mog could go out. You see the cat flap there. And in again. It was her own little door. The garden always made Mog very excited. She smelled all the smells. She chased the birds. She climbed the trees. She ran around with a big fluffed up tail. And then she forgot the cat flap. She forgot she had a cat flap. She wanted to go back into the house, but she couldn't remember how. There's Nikki and Debbie playing catch with a ball. Maybe you've been doing that today or at some other point. In the end, she sat outside the kitchen window and meow, meow, meow until someone let her in. Can you remember his name? Whoops, that way. Tell me? Nikki, that's right, that's Nikki. He's letting in Mog. Afterwards, you could always tell where she had sat. This made Mr. Thomas very sad. He said, "Bother that cat." But Debbie said, "Oh no, she's nice." Daddy's a bit of a grumpy face on there. But can you see why Dad's sad? Because Mog has sat on the flowers and broken them. Once Mog had a very bad day, and even the start of the day was bad. Mog was still asleep, and then Nikki picked her up. He hugged her and said, "Nice kitty." Mog said nothing, but she was not happy. Then it was time for breakfast. Mog forgot that cats have milk for breakfast. She forgot that cats only have eggs as a treat. She ate an egg for breakfast. Can you see whose egg she's eating? Yes, Nicky's egg. Mrs. Thomas said, "Bother that cat." Debbie said, "Nicky doesn't like eggs anyway." And the cat's on the table. If you have a cat, is your cat allowed on the table, or do try and keep it on the floor? Mog looked through her cat flap. It was raining in the garden. Mog thought, perhaps the sun is shining in the street. When the milkman came, she ran out. The milkman shut the door. The sun was not shining in the street after all. It was raining. A big dog came down the street. Mog ran, and the dog ran too. She's getting all wet outside. Mog ran right around the house, and the dog ran after her. She climbed over the fence, she ran through the garden, she jumped up outside the kitchen window, and she meowed a big meow. Meow, meow! Very sudden and very loud. Mrs. Thomas said, can you guess? Bother that cat. Debbie said, it wasn't her fault. Can you see? When Mog meowed very loudly, it made Mrs. Thomas jump, and she dropped her pan of peas. And that's why she's saying, bother that cat. Mog was very sleepy. She found a nice, warm, soft place and went to sleep on the chair. On top of someone's hat. She had a lovely dream. Mog dreamed she had wings. She could fly everywhere. She could fly faster than the birds, even the quite big birds. And then suddenly she woke up. Mrs. Thomas said, can you guess? Bother that cat. Debbie said, I think you look nicer without a hat. Can you work out why she's saying bother that cat? What's she done to Mrs. Thomas's hat? Can you tell me? Yes, that's right, she squashed it. Oh dear. Debbie gave Mog her supper, and Mog ate it all up. Then Debbie and Nicky went to bed. There she is eating it. Can you see what's in her bowl? Yes, she's got fish. Mog had a rest too. But Mr. Thomas wanted to watch the fight on the television. Mr. Thomas said, bother that cat. Can you see? Her tail is swishing in front of the screen and she's sitting on top of the television. Mr. Thomas is pointing his finger, wanting Mog to move. Mog thought, nobody likes me. Then she thought, Debbie likes me. Debbie's door was open. Debbie's bed was warm. Debbie's hair was soft like kitten fur. Mog forgot that Debbie was not a kitten. Oh, look, can you see? She's licking her hair. Debbie had a dream. It was a bad dream. Oh dear. It was a dream about a tiger. The tiger wanted to eat Debbie. It was licking her hair. Debbie shouted, "Ah!" Mog jumped. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas said, "Bother, bother, bother that cat." Debbie said nothing. She was still crying because of the bad dream. Mog ran out of the room. There she is. And right through the house and out of her cat flap. She was very sad. The house was dark, the garden was dark. Mog sat in the dark and thought dark thoughts. She thought, nobody likes me. They've all gone to bed. There's no one to let me in. And they haven't even given me my supper. Poor Mog. Then Mog noticed something. She noticed the house was not quite dark. There was a little light moving about. She looked through the window and saw a man in the kitchen. Mog thought, perhaps that man will let me in. Perhaps he will give me my supper. Does that look like Mr. Thomas? No, it doesn't, does it? Do you think he should be there? I don't think he should either. Mog meowed her biggest meow. Meow! Very sudden and very, very loud. The man was surprised. He dropped his bag. It made a very big noise and everyone in the house woke up. Mr. Thomas ran to the kitchen and shouted, "A burglar!" The burglar said, "Bother that cat." Mrs. Thomas telephoned the police. Debbie let Mog in and Nicky hugged her. A policeman came and they told him what had happened. The policeman looked at Mog. He said, "Oh, what a remarkable cat! I've seen watch dogs, but I've never seen a watch cat. She will get a medal." Debbie said, "I think she'd rather have an egg." So there you've got Nicky, Debbie, Mog, the policeman, the burglar, Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Thomas. Mog had a medal. It's a beautiful one. It looks very shiny and gold and it says, "To Mog for bravery." She also had an egg for breakfast every day. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas told all their friends about her. They said, "Mog is really remarkable." And they never, well, almost never, said, "Bother that cat" ever again. So, there she is on the back, looking at her bowl, which has got her name on it. Might be able to read that. So I hope you enjoyed that story today, Mog the Forgetful Cat. Now it's time, probably, for sleep time. Time to go to sleep for the whole night. So I know by now you will have cleaned your teeth and you will have been to the toilet and you will have had your last drink and there'll be no reason to get out of your bed now and ask for anything else or to ask to go downstairs. Now I wonder, can you dream a big dream like Debbie? But I'd like your dream to be about Mog. Not a bad dream, a good dream. Maybe you can dream about Mog flying. Maybe you can dream about Mog meowing. Maybe you can dream about Mog chasing her tail. Maybe you can dream about Mog being in the garden. So, have a wonderful sleep. Have a lovely, lovely dream. And I will see you tomorrow. Good night, girls and boys. And everybody else who's watching. Sleep well, everyone. Bye.